as crazy as it sounds, these sorts of scandals kind of brings a little bit more attention to the game. People are infatuated with this shit.
Hello and welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to another edition of the Poker Central Podcast, episode 167.
Wait a minute.
As
Start that intro.
Around here, they call me Loudmouth Mallard.
I'm not even sure if you guys could catch that.
I
but
can't handle the intro anymore unless I have some sort of gimmick or prop. I can't do it.
You're a walking and talking gimmick, Brent. Let's just accept that first and foremost. Today on the show, we have more on Postlegate. We probably have more Mallard action as well. We have Jason Somerville joining us to talk about his sports betting prowess as well as him doing announcing on Thursday Night Football. Yes.
He's a sports betting degenerate.
You heard that right.
Not a prowess.
Prowess? You have to have some prowess, otherwise you shouldn't do it.
Yeah, he's sharp.
That's why you should not do anything, because you have no prowess whatsoever. And we will recap the run-it-up action on Poker After Dark. But first, let's dive into Postlegate.
Oh, head first, Remco. Dive right
head
in.
first, right in there,
Yeah.
because Postlegate is still the number one thing that keeps everyone buzzing in the world of poker.
Keeps Joey Ingram up all night.
I mean, Joe Ingram is
Literally.
basically starting a new career of just investigative videos, and
Yes.
this has been ongoing for more than a week now. Brent, give me your take of how you consumed and what you consumed over the last week or so.
Oh, dear. Where to begin? Okay, so what amazes me so much about Postlegate and what we have learned, and I think what we already knew, we're fucking fascinated with scandals. Doesn't matter what it's in. If there's a scandal, if there's a lot of money involved, and if that scandal is sexy, you bet your ass that America is watching. And that's exactly what we have right here.
Pat McAfee, The Ringer,
Yeah.
Scott Van Pelt.
Yes. Ryan Russillo. I listen to two channels on my way to work on Sirius XM every single morning. No free ads. Barstool Radio, channel 85, and Fantasy Football Radio, channel 87. All right? 2 times this week, Postlegate was mentioned on the Fantasy Football Radio channel. How? Well, because everyone loves a good old-fashioned scandal. There's little ways that you can parallel your industry, what you're working on, fantasy football, and some sort of scandal. And that's exactly what's happening across the board. It's fascinating for me. It really is. And Joey Ingram deserves all this shine. He should be on these podcasts. He was made for this shit. The guy uncovers scandals. The guy uncovers these investigations. And this is exactly the sort of platform where he belongs.
Let's first talk about how this is being perceived by the people outside of this industry directly.
Mm-hmm.
So, Russillo, The Ringer, ESPN, The Zone, everyone seems to be paying attention to this big scandal, which brings me to my question, Brent. Is this detrimental to the growth of poker because it shines a negative light on the game?
No, not at all. I don't. We're under the assumption that poker had this amazing light to begin with. That's just not true. I mean, I honestly think the reason why I fell in love with poker and infatuated with it is because it's sort of badass. Because of the grit and the grime and the hustle and the street that really comes along with it. I mean, it's never been this glorified game of just everyone is honest and charming and so beloved. I mean, are you kidding me? Phil Hellmuth is the poker brat. We are obsessed with his childish antics, with his temper tantrums. Mike Matusow, right? I mean, the mouth. These guys are that put this game on a stage. We're I guess bad boys is the way that you could put it. Yes, there were heroes, right? But we're also in love with the villains. And I think that as crazy as it sounds, these sorts of scandals kind of brings a little bit more attention to the game. People are infatuated with this shit.
But at the same time, though, it is once again poker reaching the mainstream only because of something negative. So in a way, it's hard for us as an industry to grab headlines in general. They've seen the main event time and time again. They've seen the multi-million-dollar prize pools. People have sort of seen all of that, and they consume it sort of as they come in and out of the game if they are casual consumers of the game.
Yeah.
But then the real big mainstream hits always seem to be the scandals.
Yeah, well, I'll tell you what, the major turnoff for poker, and I was listening to Ryan Russillo and Joey Ingram, which was an incredible podcast. I highly recommend you listen to that. Ryan Russillo said something that was interesting for me. He's not into poker, and this guy was a sort of a degenerate coming up before he found his career. He very easily could have gotten into gambling. He probably does like gambling. But for him, poker, when he hears it, has turned into this game where, you got to have things memorized.
Right.
You need to be good at math.
Right.
That's a turnoff. That's not something that we can all just grab a hold of and think, wow, I'm in. But when we hear gambling, when we hear scandal, when we hear that there's a way to make an easy buck, now all of a sudden I'm into it. That's what poker was for a long time. Very few people had it figured out or solved. Very few people had the math nuances to be able to maneuver in this game. Now it's an entirely different animal, and that's why it's sort of difficult to grab the headlines. We can dangle out the WSOP main event prize pool, and sure, yeah, that makes SportsCenter. They talk about that, but that's it.
Yeah.
Where else do you really see it? Our event, Super High Roller Bowl, might be number 2 behind that because it's a massive buy-in, $300,000 where these people show up, but what's the assumption from the mainstream about all these players in the field? They're really good at math. They're a bunch of geniuses, and they've got this whole thing figured out like chess.
Right. So are you saying that, and this, of course, veers very far off from the Postle conversation, are you saying that what we give the mainstream audience to consume needs to be much more focused on the gambling and the grimy aspects of the game?
I think that's what is more interesting for casual folks.
Right.
I don't think that math is very interesting. If it were, then chess would be a mainstream sport or a mainstream game. It's just not.
Right.
And that's sort of what we're learning and we're finding out. Now, Berkey, my good friend Matt Berkey, would say, you know what? That's what you guys want. He says it all the time. He says, that's what you guys want. That's what you're going to get. We can continue to try that, but it seems like on the insider perspective, as a poker professional, it's sort of a slap in the face when you say that poker is all about gambling and poker is all about the nonsense and the wild, wild west and the street. Because for the purist, it's really not about that. Yeah. You know, for the purist, it's a game of skill, and it's a double-edged sword. It goes both ways. I'm not entirely sure what the answer is, but it would seem to me that if the scandal sticks out and a guy like Ryan Russillo is saying that he never got into poker because he doesn't like memorizing things, well, how much more elaborate do we need to be? That's a very clear picture for me.
Let's get back to the scandal itself. A lawsuit has now been filed officially. It's a $10 million lawsuit filed by Mac Verstanik and his Verstanik law firm. He, of course, has been working in poker for a long time, so he's the right guy probably to tackle this. How do you feel about this lawsuit, having read the article on Pocket Fives, which was really in-depth, and I think it really showed how they're sort of approaching this? Matt Berkey, Joe Ingram's names were mentioned in it as guys who were investigating this already, and I think some of Ingram's footage might be used. But how do you look at this lawsuit? Because a $10 million ask is, of course, a headline grabber as well.
What an easy job the firm had, huh? All the investigative work was done for them.
Basically.
It's all done. What more do you have to do other than slap these giant numbers on and say, hey, we're coming after you for $10 million? Let me ask you something, Remco. You really think the $10 million is going to settle?
I think the $10 million is just a headline.
Oh, do you? You think it's a headline?
It works as a headline.
Yeah. What do you think they're trying to maybe get after? What do you think the real motive is?
Money back?
Sure.
They want their money back?
A little money back?
Yeah.
I mean, a settlement.
Settlement.
Right? You're trying to find a settlement.
Yeah.
You really think you're going to get $10 million? You think you're going to get $5 million? What do you think, Remco? How much money do you think will be settled on? Let's put a line out there. What do you think?
I think they're going to settle for money back plus some kind of fine. And maybe let's say that's like let's call it all his winnings included. Let's call it
$250,000.
Let's call it
something like that.
Let's call it $500,000.
So you think $500K?
Let's say half a million.
I'll take the under.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'll take the under.
And do you think this gets settled before it even goes to court?
Yep.
And what do you think then will become of Mike Postle? Because honestly, if it gets settled, are we going to prevent this guy from ever playing poker again? I mean, Russ Hamilton played the World Series of Poker for many years after the Ultimate Bet scandal.
He'll be blacklisted. That name will be blacklisted
you think so?
Across the board. You won't be able to play the World Series. At least that's my opinion.
Yeah.
I mean, who's letting him in the building to play in their arena?
Right.
In their events? What are you, fucking nuts? This guy brings the largest live scandal in the history of the game. You really think he's going to be able to play? No, he's going to be playing online somewhere, or he's just done playing. He'll figure out something else that he can swindle. Sounds like the guy's allegedly a crook to begin with.
Let's keep allegedly in there, of course, because it's still an ongoing investigation.
Sure.
This lawsuit, as we talked about you and I in the office, this might take another year. people obviously are going to feel positive about the fact that action is being taken.
Right.
But the as Jamie Kerstetter said, the wheels of justice move very slow.
Yes.
So this could be a very dragged out thing, and it could take a long time.
Yeah, and the guy that I think could really also allegedly get smashed by this is the tournament director that's over there.
Yeah.
His name's been thrown out. I mean, how can he possibly maintain his job?
His name is part of the lawsuit.
Even if he's innocent,
Yeah,
Remco.
that's
Even if the guy did absolutely nothing, right? It's on his watch, man.
It's true.
He's the director. He's the one overseeing this. He's the one running those social media accounts for Stones. I believe Veronica said that. Again, that's alleged as well. But you can't make these statements saying that everything was a fabricated lie. And again, that's a loose quote. But what are you doing?
Yeah.
You can't do that, man.
100%. And then let's talk theory here for a second, because the hat theory got really hot there for a second. Then it was the crotch phone, and then it was the blue screen, and Berkey went into the
crotch ripper,
how the actual graphics technology works with regards to receiving the RFID information. And honestly, if we're going too fast here, we're not trying to go like super deep into this, because Joey Ingram and Matt Berkey and Doug Polk have done a tremendous job uncovering a lot more than we can do here on a short podcast. So let's just talk theories here. Of the theories that are being thrown out there, what do you think is the most likely, and how many people do you think are allegedly involved in this?
Oh, man. I mean, what looks very clear as day to me is that the software package that this casino used, this poker room used, I think it's called like Poker GFX. You can buy it, you can license it. It's out there, and any sort of low production company uses it. In fact, Run It Up uses that package that we just had our show with. And what's very scary is that you can set up a private stream, and that private stream is accessible, completely hidden on something like Facebook. So you can log into Facebook and open up that private test stream, and right there is the exact live stream with no delay.
Wow.
It looks to me like that is exactly what was happening. Now, when phones were outlawed, what's the next step? I don't know. Was it
bone conductors?
Was it this bone conductor? Was it some sort of audio-only feed where you're trying to listen for the hand that said that you're up against? And if that's the case, now you might be bringing in other people if they're aware of this system that's in place. I mean, Remco, I don't know. I don't want to point fingers, but I think it's very clear that it is not just Mike Postel. There is 100% a rogue operator involved, which I said last week. That is no-brainer. If this cheating is happening, there's somebody on the inside that's helping out. It's at least 2 people. My guess would be that there's 3 people involved,
including a lot of high-profile names on Twitter. Everyone seems to be siding with the alleged cheating scandal being a real thing. Mike Postel actually, taking advantage of certain things that he's doing at the table. However, there is one man in the poker universe who adamantly believes that Mike Postel is just the outlier. He is the guy who crushes the games, and this man goes by the name of Mike Matusow. Brent, take me into the mindset of Mike Matusow.
Oh,
how does
really?
How does he come to this? How does he come to these conclusions? And the podcast, I tried to listen to it. It was very hard to get through. It just seemed like a bunch of random gibberish and bragging about how good he really is and all this sort of stuff.
First of all, let's just go easy on Mike. I mean, what the fuck did you think you were going to get? The guy.
Why are we supposed to go easy on him?
Well, why wouldn't we? What do you assume that Mike is going to do in that situation? Do you think he's going to go at him hard? Do you think Mike Postel is going to sit down with you, Remco, and just let you grill him? No. Mike threw him up there and said, hey, come on my show. I've got your side. I want to get it all out there. I'm going to be neutral of this whole thing. Let you talk about it. And for whatever reason, Mike Postel's attorney, which may or may not have been hired at the moment, gave him the green light. Can you imagine that mindset?
I can't.
How the fuck do you think that is even reasonable? Yeah, head on the Mike Matusow show. This guy seems like he's got his shit together.
Yeah.
I mean, come on.
But
it's
why
Mike Matusow. We know what we get when we're going in. I mean, it's Mikey. Whether you're a casual fan or a hardcore fan, do you really think that Mike Matusow is going to give you this in-depth interview and it's going to reveal a lot of things?
No, of course not. But why do we have to give Matusow a pass for his beliefs or his opinions?
Well, the pass is this. His beliefs and his opinions that he said on the show, and he's also tweeting about, he's not taking Mike Postel's side. He's simply putting it out there that he gave Mike Postel a platform. He gave him a warm welcome and said, hey, come on the show. I will not accuse you of anything. I will not ask you questions that could be a little too much. I am going to give you a platform to let you speak. Now, did we learn anything from that? No, not really. But did he accomplish exactly what he set out to do? Yeah, I guess so. I'm giving him a pass on that. Do I think that he believes that Mike Postel's not cheating? No, I really don't. I don't think that Mike Matusow is looking at the footage. Now, granted, he said he looked at 3 hands, and then he said he looked at only 2 hands. So he really shouldn't have an opinion if he's only looked at that.
Yeah.
He really should be staying neutral. He has no side. But if he did look at what Joey's presented, if he did look at what Matt Berkey's talking about, how can you possibly look at that and say, oh, yeah, no, I don't see it. Yeah, I don't see anything suspicious going on.
I mean,
so that is why I say we give Mikey a pass.
Right.
I honestly don't think he's looked at it.
Do you think that in the coming week, or let's say 2 weeks, anything new is going to get uncovered, or do you think we're now reaching a point where this is slowly going to sort of die out until this lawsuit turns into something?
Yeah, I mean, I thought that we had uncovered everything. I say we, the collective we.
We've done shit all.
Yeah, I've done nothing. They keep finding little things that sort of paint, a greater picture or add finer details to this case. And, Veronica Brill did the Joey Ingram podcast last night. I haven't listened to that yet. I will. There's more. I mean, there's going to be more. I wouldn't be surprised if somebody flipped.
Right.
If someone is on the inside and said, listen, you need to come forward. We have all this evidence. If you flip, we'll protect you, blah, blah, blah. Maybe something like that could happen, Remco, where they come out and they get the lesser end of a legal lawsuit or jail time, whatever comes of this. I don't know. My hunch is that we'll learn more. And then the thing that scares me the most, or what I think could happen, is that really no one serves time. I just think it'll be settled outside of court, swept under the rug, if you will, and these guys are going to move on. Folks are going to lose their jobs. Mike Postel won't be able to play poker anymore, but I don't see anyone going to jail from this.
Well, we'll see how it develops. We'll keep you guys posted if anything new comes out. But otherwise, we're just going to sort of, keep tabs on the people that are actually doing the work and the investigative stuff. Joe Ingram, Matt Berkey, shout out to those guys for doing all that they've done. I haven't even been able to catch all of it. Man. It's a lot to consume.
Yeah, it's a lot. And I know nothing about legal. So obviously I think the listeners...
We've established that.
You know that. I know nothing. Maybe this guy goes to prison for 50 years for all I know.
Yeah. We're just the 2 dummies with a podcast.
What happened to Russ Hamilton?
I mean, he's still playing golf here in Vegas every day.
Right.
Yeah.
Like, what happens to these guys where it's very blatant? And nothing.
What about Uncle Howie?
There's never been a precedent set.
Right.
It's
true. All right. Next up, Brent.
Okay.
We want to hear from you guys, the listeners. Maybe I should do like a newscaster sort of back and forth on these cameras to make this sound all
do the weather.
Very serious. You should do the weather.
Yeah.
Podcast at Poker Central. We want to hear from you guys about whatever it is you want to ask. Do you want to know from Brent how he got Dan Bilzerian's phone number?
Podcast at PokerCentral.com. I want emails sent to me, sent to Remco. I want hand histories. Tell me something. What's bothering you? How do you play pocket jacks? Let's get to the bottom of that, Remco. I want to teach these guys how to play pocket jacks. Maybe a home game.
Oh.
Send me a goddamn picture of your home game. Submit it. We're going to put it on the show. We're going to put your questions on the show. We're going to put your Twitter account on the show. You're going to hear your name right here. We want to work with you folks. Email us, podcast at Poker Central. Look at it. If you're watching it, look at that graphic right there. You see that? Podcast at PokerCentral.com. Remco.
And then while we're at it, also, you can leave those questions as well in the reviews. So whatever the platform is that you're using, we'll catch those reviews. Leave us the reviews. Put a question in there. Even if you have an idea for a guest, we're pretty confident we can get anyone not named Phil Ivey on this very podcast. So please let us know what you want. Questions, requests, guests, whatever you want to do, send us either an email, podcast at Poker Central, or leave it in one of the reviews.
I want evidence of 5-star reviews, and I want them this week.
Okay.
I want it now.
Okay, well, we'll see what we can do. But most of our diehard fans have already done that. So
I want more.
Encourage your neighbors and friends to download the show and listen to it.
Show me a picture of you showing a friend, and I you know what? I will send you something in the mail, Remco. I will do it.
Whoa.
I will break the law. I will break the law here at Poker Central, and I will send you something in the mail. I just need evidence. I need evidence like I need Postlegate evidence. I need it.
All right. this week on PokerGo, in the studio, on Poker After Dark, I should say. It was run-it-up week. We had Jason Somerville in there with his friends. We had Jamie Kerstetter on the show during Poker After Dark. But, Brent, the most compelling part of Jason Somerville in the studio was him diving into the sports betting aspect of his life currently, which I found highly interesting.
Well, I had no idea that he was such a total degenerate, just like myself. But it sounds like he's pretty sharp. Like he's got this thing sort of, I don't think, figured out.
Right.
But he's not a losing sports bettor like I am.
Yeah.
Yeah, so, I'm on the road to Bustoville. He is on the road to Robustoville. Jason Somerville, not only has he created these just incredible nuances in poker, I guess, with Run It Up and now with chat plays, but now with sports betting. And now he's going to be a commentator, Remco, for Thursday Night Football?
That's crazy.
What the fuck? What is happening?
I mean, I cannot even believe that Jason Somerville, who basically is the poker guy, is now going to do NFL commentary on his own Twitch channel.
Yeah, but we got to separate the two products, right? Because Somerville is a degenerate sports bettor. He loves betting. He loves looking at lines and analyzing. But for the commentary on Thursday Night Football, which will be happening on Twitch, which is so fucking cool, he can't talk about betting.
Right.
That is against the contract. That's against the rules. So you can't talk about any of that stuff.
All right. Well, before we dive even deeper into this ourselves, let's listen to what Jason had to say. We had him on the show during the Poker After Dark broadcast. You can also catch all of that on demand on PokerGo right now if you've missed any of the action. But first, let's listen to what Jason had to say. You're also kind of like a big-time sports guy in the sense that you probably watch, follow, and dive deep in the various different sports. And I see you're a big Tampa Bay fan.
Yeah, I happen to be a Rays fan this week. Yes, that's true. I figured this is the time to break out the Rays hat if there ever is one. So, a few years ago, a long time ago, I guess at this point, I started doing some UFC betting, converted from that into sort of starting to dabble into NFL, and had some success in that, and that kind of got me hooked because then I kind of could already see, like, if you study these games, you study the markets, there are a ton of resources that you can sort of combine to hopefully have an edge in betting. I haven't had an edge. There are certain sports that I still haven't quite figured out yet, of course, and the sample size is always a question, right? Because you run really good, you feel like you're a winner, but you're really not, you lose back, and the casinos have, the rake is hard to beat for most people in sports betting, even more than poker. So I've taken it though and said, okay, I really enjoy this. The sports betting market is like 100 times bigger than poker. It's going to blow up in America in the next 10 years. So I am in a position now where I've kind of got to figure out what do I want to do with this? Do I want to just purely be on the betting side of it, which I've really enjoyed and has worked out pretty well for me so far, or do I want to kind of use some of the content skills and resources that I've built? I have a freaking production company after all. So like, what could we do with that? And how can I combine these things together to offer something to the fans that still lets me also bet and be involved. So I haven't quite figured out where all these pieces have come together because there's still Fox Bet just launched, PokerStars' sports betting brand, just launched in Pennsylvania and I think New Jersey like 2 weeks ago. So, and that was a rush to get it done. You guys knew that deal got done in August or something. Yeah. So they blasted that thing together. So I haven't quite figured out exactly what that's going to look like for me, what company I'm going to be working with necessarily, how that's going to be all coming together, but I know I love it, I've had success with it, and I think that I can sort of play the same role as I did with poker and Run It Up in providing like entertaining but also educational and insightful content.
Do you think it has to do as well with how we consume sports as sports betting becomes more and more the norm, where that's being talked about more while the event's going on, and that's maybe even being advertised in a way?
Oh, yeah.
Do you think that you can play a role in that?
Oh, sure. I mean, there's a couple things to that. Yes, I definitely think that content in sports betting is going to be very tied to the games. Let's be honest, if the score is 27-0 and you have over 40, you're only watching to see if there will be 2 touchdowns scored or not, right? So sports betting, I think, will drive a ton of content, and now that they're allowed to kind of be like, hey, let's try to see what's going on here, I think we'll see that a lot.
You told me yesterday you're going to do Thursday Night Football, you're going to do commentary.
Yes.
Will it be a case where you're like, well, they're minus 200 to score on this drive.
No.
Okay.
I cannot do that based on the contract I have with Twitch.
Okay.
So in my mind, I will be thinking it, but no, I can't be saying it. So we are going to be doing 5 Thursday Night Football shows in November and December, which
That's
I'm
exciting.
super excited about. I've got to really study up on my football. I mean, not that I don't know the game, but like, man, I'm not necessarily sure what the shotgun formation looks like versus, you can see what the play is probably going to be based on the formations, and I've never really studied that because it was never really part of my job in learning sports betting. But I'm really excited to kind of play that role and sort of talk through these games and share insights as they go. But it won't be a ton of gambling content within that, just based on the contract that Amazon has laid out. NFL is still very much like arm's length, not as far as it was, but they're still a little bit cautious about gambling.
So you're about to be a Tony Romo of Twitch.
Ooh, that's a big bar, but yeah, sure, I guess so.
Do you need a Booger McFarland? I could step in there.
You could probably take his job.
Yeah, I know nothing.
Yeah, neither does he, maybe.
Perfect.
So yeah, I'm excited about that. We're going to do 5 of those shows. It'll be on our channel. Basically, if you've seen it on Twitch, because they've been doing it for the last year and all this year so far, basically it's just the regular feed with commercials and everything, just picture in picture with me in the corner. So before the game, after the game, I can talk about, hey, this is the spread, this is the side that I like, this is why I think this is this and that, whatever. But then during the game, I'm restricted because I understand why they wouldn't want the individual creators to go out and make a deal with some random sportsbook and be like, Sportsbook X says bet this right now.
So touchdowns are now pork chops? Is that what it's
Yeah, exactly, yeah. I'm going to have to find code words for what the spread is or whatever. Like, yeah, the peanut butter here is 7 or something. Yeah, I don't know.
All right, Brent, that was Jason Somerville. Thursday Night Football is what he's going to be associated with.
You heard that, Remco.
But
you heard that.
What I'm also excited about,
What?
Him mentioning how sports betting in general is going to get such a massive boost because legislation is really working in sports betting's
100
favor.
times greater than poker.
That's a big number.
Yeah, well, I know where I'm headed.
To the book?
Yeah. I'm getting into sports betting. I think I have a future in sports betting.
Wow.
Yeah.
Like,
And you know what else you heard?
Well, go ahead.
I have the opportunity to be the next Booger McFarland.
I mean, he kind of sucks, right?
Yeah.
Do you want to be as bad as him, or do you think you can do it?
Got to start somewhere.
Could you do it? Could you do NFL commentary?
Yes,
Or
you're damn right I
do you
could.
know enough about the shotgun formation?
Yeah, I mean, I'll learn.
Yeah?
If Booger doesn't know anything, I don't need to know anything. I just have to be a bit of a bigger booger.
Giant booger. Huge. The one thing I find fascinating as well is what the impact is going to be of sports betting tied into live sports. Do you think we're going to see stuff like a company doing, maybe not NFL, maybe like different sports like NBA or hockey, where
Yes.
they talk about the stuff on halftime shows?
I forget where it is, and this is a bad example. I think it may have even been Washington, where either the Redskins or the Nationals, one of these teams, and I shouldn't say the Redskins, that's the R words, where the R words had some sort of sports betting facility installed. It's the first one to get passed by legislation.
Right.
So I believe it was William and Hill came to terms with this team, and you'll be able to not only go to a game, but while you're at the game, you can bet. How cool is that? That's exactly where this is all headed. You're going to be at a live event and be able to bet during the game. Get up at halftime, want to go put some wagers in. Hell, there's probably an app on your phone while you're in your seat where you can do live betting from your phone while you're viewing this game.
I think it's beautiful. And it might actually be in New Jersey because that's where they legislated the gambling stuff. And
Wherever it is.
DraftKings has a sports book in New Jersey or something along those lines. But I think
an actual stadium just came to terms with it. I should see you hit me.
Yeah.
I wasn't prepared for this question.
Unbelievable.
And I heard it during one of my my 2 channels that I listened to on the drive in. I heard it there. That's where the news was. I think it was the R words.
But in general, though, the sports betting future of the U.S. is pretty bright, and it's going to be offered more and more and become a bigger and bigger part of the show. And who knows, maybe Somerville will become more and more of a sports guy in the sense that he's maybe starting to do some content. And I just love for you to do. I would love for you to do a weekly show where you give your takes on the lines. That'd be so funny.
I'm already working on it. Yeah.
Let's do it.
Bustoville with Brent.
Okay, let's do it. Look back for me briefly on Run It Up Week on Poker After Dark. We had some fun characters in there. Johnny Vibes was on the show. Marley played the first night. Jamie Kerstetter played both nights. But I heard you are a fan of a new player that was also on the show.
Well, I'm a fan of all of these folks, but I think Mark Mazza.
Well, he's the new guy for you.
Mark Mazza,
Right.
I think, is the more colorful one, if you will. And I say that because of his shirt selection. He had a tropical shirt on with the Philadelphia Eagles. Next day, he had a tropical shirt on with the Philadelphia Flyers. He's clearly a Philly guy, a colorful character. gambled his dick off. I think he lost $25,000
Wow.
on day 2. This is supposed to be the smallest game we ever ran. This guy just got absolutely buried, which, was pretty unfortunate. Ricky Guan, he really stuck out for me. He was I would say the elite player in the crowd. He was clearly the one that's out there solving. He's in the lab. I think his name is on something with GTO is his Twitter handle. Rated GTO. That's how you can follow him on Twitter. So he was the high-level player in the group, and then it was very much a nice mix of players.
Right.
Johnny Vibes comes in on day 2 after he got in a fist fight with Jared Jaffe. We'll talk a little bit about that.
Social media fist fight.
Yeah, boy. I'll tell you what. Let's stay there. Let's stay with Johnny Vibes and let's talk about Jared Jaffe.
Okay, let me tee it up there before you go ham on this because I'm sure you have a take on this.
Yeah.
Johnny Vibes tweeted that at the Denver airport, a TSA agent recognized him and mentioned something about when his new vlog was coming out. Johnny Vibes tweeted this, and then the negative Nancys on social media found it a reason enough to chime in and to basically go after him, saying that it wasn't true. Now, a day later, after a lot of back and forth on social media, said TSA agent actually posts or sends Johnny a video of him walking at the Denver airport, and Johnny basically proves that this was true. But, Brent, as far as I understand from your opinion, this goes a little bit deeper than whether it was true or not.
Yeah, I think there's just genuinely bad blood there between Vibes and guys like Jaffe, the Massies. What they are really are sort of, yes, they're trolls by nature. Jay Farber, he also chimed in there with a really funny GIF. To me, this stuff is funny.
Yeah.
I think that Jaffe and the Massies and what they do, it cracks me up, right?
Yeah, of course.
I don't see it as anything malicious. And I think that's where Twitter and social media is dangerous because people feel hurt by what they read and see about themselves. I don't give a shit what anyone ever says about me. I laugh. If I'm criticized, I laugh. I respond back with some sort of GIF or GIF. Johnny brings a bit of swagger with him. He brings some confidence, some ego, and whenever he puts out tweets like that, like, oh, look at my fans in Denver, my fans in this country over here, and outside looking in, it's like, wait, who, what, what is this? You're a celebrity? And he does have 30,000 YouTube followers, but are you a celebrity? No, probably not.
Does it matter,
But it doesn't matter, right? It doesn't matter. So he put it out there. He aired it out there. The ego police came in and said, Dikembe, back in your lane, back in your lane. I giggled. And then Johnny came back with the absolute just dunk in your eyeball and had a video
that was
of
great.
The TSA agent saying, hey.
Investigate this. Am I actually a TSO at Denver? Here's the baggage claim. Here's my name, Zachary, Den for Denver. Yeah, that's it. I don't know what else I could do for Johnny to prove to you guys how silly you are.
This happened, motherfuckers. This happened.
Yeah.
So here it is, and people got a kick out of that. There seem to be two camps out there on Twitter. There's camp troll and camp like confidence,
right?
You know, where you're out there trying to create your brand, but if you do too much and it looks like you do too much, this camp just smashes you, and you guys get in a fight, and this is the mess that comes out.
What I want to emphasize here is that if you run into Brent Hanks on the Las Vegas Strip or at the PokerGO studio, please ask him for a selfie and an autograph. Document this, send it to me, and I will put it out there that Brent Hanks also has fans.
A lot of fans.
I think that's what you're also sort of getting at. You want more fans.
I see fans everywhere I go, Remco.
Yeah.
I can't go through an airport without somebody, especially the TSA agents, stopping me and saying, wow, when's the next podcast coming out?
I know.
You and the Foreigner.
Yeah.
Because a
Big
lot of
fans.
these TSA agents, they're Americans, so they side with me.
Right,
they
of course.
get me because
Of
I'm
course.
an American.
Totally.
Purebred.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I think most of the people that know you are, the dealers at blackjack tables and casinos.
Drug dealers.
And the waitresses at strip clubs. Those are the ones that are most familiar with you.
I've only been to a strip club twice in my life.
Really?
That's a true story.
Have you been to Rhino?
Both times were for a birthday.
A birthday?
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, for my grandmother and my Aunt Betty.
Oh, Betty. She's a crazy one. All right, Brent, a few more small things here to wrap up the show.
Who happened to work in those clubs, by the way. So I guess we were just going to where they were at.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
That makes
Anyway.
sense. Easy little trip there. We have a lot of stuff coming up on PokerGO. Let's start with the Run Good event on Poker After Dark, as well as the Poker Masters.
October 23rd, 24th, we got Tana and the Run Good crew coming on in. Showbound week, 5K sit and go. We've got some great lineups in store. Norm MacDonald will be playing on day one. I would guess he's sort of the feature. Jamie Gold, back-to-back days. Chance Corneth, he's back. Jeff Platt, going to be playing on day two, commentator. Gary Gates, fresh off the WSOP final table. Maria Ho and Jamie Kerstetter are going to round it out. They both play each day. And then each day also has a Run Good qualifier.
Beautiful.
Day one, guy's name is Woody. Day two, guy's name is Clyde. You can't make that shit up.
No, you cannot make that shit up. Yeah. And then we have the Poker Masters coming to PokerGo, starting with live streams on November 5th, running all the way through November 14th, and that is right before we go to the Bahamas. That's where Super High Roller Bowl Bahamas will take place. 3 straight days of live coverage of that event, followed by the Party Poker Millions World main event. So that is all coming up on PokerGo. And then one final note. I want to mention this because we did not mention it on the show last week, but Legends of the Game is now available on PokerGo as well. The episode with Stu Unger is on PokerGo right now. You can watch that. And then there's more episodes coming out every Saturday for the next couple of weeks. So that's something very excited to look forward to.
We need to just come up with a show where you just plug our shit.
That's what I'm here for.
Just plug our shit.
People need to know all the good stuff that's out there.
The show's going to be called The Plug.
The Plug?
Your new nickname is now not The Foreigner, you're The Plug.
The Plug?
Yeah, you just plug everything up.
I'm a company man.
Toilets, plug our content. Just a plug.
Whatever you want, I'll
plug.
Whatever you want, I'll plug it. Yeah. On that note,
just plugging along.
We've reached the end of this episode of the podcast. Please, like Brent and I said earlier, send us a message on podcast@PokerCentral, leave us a review, or interact with us on Twitter because we love our fans. Of course.
I love the fans.
Right?
I want to see you guys at the airports more often.
Yeah.
Other countries when I decide to leave this one for the first time.
You never will.
Never will.
No.
Seriously, I want pictures. I want to see the home games, man. I know you guys are playing home games. Show it to me. I want to see that home game.
All right. He is at bhanks11. I am at Remco Rinkema. Thank you guys so much for watching and listening, and we'll catch you guys next week.